Sharlene Brewer, again from Pure Natural Health and Wellness, today with Kelly, and we're doing our recap of the top 10 tips to healthy living naturally. So Kelly, I'm going to ask you if you can just remind us of why you started to embark on this natural living or healthy living in the first place.
So the whole reason I started was because I was dealing with a lot of medical problems, and so like with my epilepsy, and then I had malignant hypothermia, and it kind of just goes on from there. I had a whole bunch. Plus, I was tired all the time. I had almost every day I had an afternoon nap or something to kind of get me by. I was eating terribly, very, very bad, but and I just wasn't feeling well. I was having headaches like every day, debilitating ones that I had to like lie down to like sleep them off because I couldn't take light or my head couldn't move or things like that. So I wanted to try to start eating more naturally or just try and change everything. I just needed an overhaul.
Yeah, and if I recall correctly, you were spending some of your spare time in doctor's offices.
Yes.
And driving to doctor's offices and appointments.
Yes, I spent a lot of time going to my doctor, and I never really got any satisfaction at the doctors. Like, don't get me wrong, they have been there for me and doing all they can, but I was an uncontrolled epileptic for a decade, and nothing ever fixed that. Nothing really ever made it any less, or the medication they would give me would help some sort of seizures and not the other kind of seizures, or I was on medication for depression and anxiety, but the medicine for depression and anxiety kind of made me like comatose. Like I didn't feel anything, or I got angry really quickly on them, which is another huge change that I've seen, that I'm a lot happier. And because before, like everything, I used to say I had a really low BS meter, like it just, people topped it way too quickly. But I think a lot of it was the medication and everything I was eating and things like that, because I'm a lot more patient
and being out of balance.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just going to remind the people that are watching and as well from our own standpoint, this had nothing to do with weight in the beginning. It was more about embarking on a health journey and taking control of your own life and of your own health, basically.
Yes.
So tell me how you're feeling now.
Now I'm feeling a lot better. I don't take any naps ever. I haven't had a headache in, I don't know, pretty much since we started. I had like the odd headache here and there, but especially I noticed after the process part when I cut out the aspartame, most of my headaches just flew away.
So really, that's the prescription for everybody. Just stop drinking diet or any kind of
stop having aspartame.
Colas. Yeah, and you're done.
Yes,
that's great.
Yeah.
So what's the biggest change that you've noticed in yourself from the time that you've started until now?
I'd probably say confidence in myself. Other than anything to do with actually how I'm feeling health-wise, I think it's the confidence. Because before I was so used to listening to everybody tell me what to do all the time and not actually seeing anything, and then not believing in myself and not thinking I can do anything to make a change in my life. So I think my confidence is the biggest change I've seen. And then, of course, energy levels and the headaches. Oh my God. That's a huge one.
Yeah. And if I remember in the beginning, you didn't know if you could actually do this, if you could.
Yes.
Even though you wanted to, you weren't sure.
Yes.
You were questioning your own motivation or willpower, determination, or your own capabilities.
My like stamina, I guess, to keep up with it. Because like I knew I really wanted to do it, but then I was afraid if I started it and then I was really good for the first couple weeks, and then I was gonna be like, I don't really feel like eating like that anymore. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to stick with it. So I've been really, really proud of myself for actually sticking with it, except for my week of shame.
Well, 1 week on holidays, it's allowed. Yeah, 10 weeks. Wow, you've done phenomenal changes. So what we've done is implemented small little changes progressively over a 10-week period. So 1 week with one new tip, and then working our way that way. So that it's sustainable, and then it becomes a lifestyle habit. And it seems like that's what's happened to you. Would you say that's accurate? Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree.
do you have anything that you would share with anyone that's going to embark on trying to do this themselves, just following these top 10 tips? Because, after doing them, you look back and you think, oh yeah, that's not all that bad, right? It's maybe pretty basic, but it's the foundation. So if anyone's starting out today, what advice would you give them?
Stick with it. I would recommend not giving up just because you think you're not going to be able to do it. Because that's what I was worried about. I was worried I wasn't going to stick with it. And I think by doing this, it really made me have to do it. Because if I ate bad one day, or if I was like, I'm just going to go eat a cheeseburger, who cares? And then I went and ate that, I'm like, well, now what am I going to say during the video this week? I'm like, yes, I failed miserably. But I couldn't give like an accurate
So maybe that's
description. So it really held me accountable. But also because I was really, because I was focused on it, and it kind of became something I was thinking about every day. Like, I started having fun with it. Because at first I was, like, dreading it. But then I was like, well, maybe it's just because the type of recipes or the type of food I eat is just boring to me. Maybe I just don't like those kind of foods. And there's so many other foods out there that, like, I'm really narrow-minded in my food. I pretty much... My taste buds hadn't matured since I was, like, 12. So I liked, like...
They have now.
Yes, they have. But, so I think just basically sticking with it, making the commitment to yourself, trying something, and then giving yourself time to try it. Don't just try it for one day and be like, oh, this is terrible. Or if you start eating healthy and then all of a sudden you're starting to feel sick, well, it's because your body isn't used to it. It hasn't adjusted to it yet.
Right.
And now all of a sudden you're throwing it for a total loop because it hadn't had any of those nutrients before.
Right. Yeah, and changing your
mindset.
Yeah, and your taste buds too, and your appreciation for food, it does shift, right? When you're used to eating processed foods and then coming back to whole foods from the earth, it's a different kind of satisfaction and taste that's required. And it sounds like maybe another tip is to keep a video diary, that kind of
yes.
keeps you on track.
Or any kind of journal or diary.
For sure.
Definitely.
So one of the things that we didn't let anybody know was that you were keeping track of all sorts of different things, right from the word go. This we have a natural health and lifestyle checklist here. So just, on a weekly basis, Kelly was rating herself. So it's a really good reminder to know where we started and where we're finishing off. Rating yourself on a level of 1 to 10 in a number of different categories. So if you are embarking on this journey and if you wanted to, have one of these, I'd be happy to share it with you. But it's things like, your overall rating of health, your general stress level, how many bowel movements are you having, what's your energy like, the list goes on and on. So there's been an amazing improvement. And tell me overall, like, what do you think? How are you feeling? What's the biggest, most beneficial part of this whole program?
The most beneficial, I think, is that I think it's just mainly self-discovery was the best part, because the food, the exercising, like meditation, even though meditation doesn't have to be as scary as some people make it out to be. You don't have to sit there in the lotus position and yes, you don't have to contort yourself for it, but it's just taking the time to actually think and breathe, and the whole process of the 10 tips really just brings you into a place that you're more mindful and you're more present in everything you're doing, in the foods you're eating, and everything. So I think that's probably...
Yeah, and if there's anything that I can say about developing this kind of top 10 tips is that it's got nothing to do with what the scale tells you. It's about the overall sense of well-being and health and connecting mind, body, and soul to a healthy balance, right? And that's exactly what's happened to you. I mean, the weight has been a natural progression, and that's kind of fallen off without you even paying attention to that, so that's just an added...
Yes, I've lost 13 pounds in this 10 weeks without even trying.
Right, that's fantastic. Yeah, and you've also had some other kind of progressions along the way with medications.
Yes, I'm not on any medications anymore, and yeah, I know, it's awesome, and it's working out really well. I mean, I can only say positive things. There's nothing really negative. It's hard. I mean, especially I think the process tip is probably the hardest to maintain, just because everything is processed. Right. And when you're trying to like cut it back, it's like, oh my god, like what is there to eat that's not processed? And it's very involved. So I think that one was probably the hardest food tip to actually maintain, but I think that one made the most difference.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So thank you so much, and
you.
congratulations. We're done. This is it. That's not to say that there's not going to be a next step or a phase 2.
Yes.
But thanks so much, Kelly, and thanks for tuning in and supporting Kelly on her
Thank
journey.
you guys. And thank you, Charlene and Pure, for helping me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thanks. And thank you.